Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium. We've got an amazing gift card holder for you today. And it's not just any gift card holder, because I wouldn't do that to you. In the Beyond the Card episode for this week, which I think we're on episode number 5, which means we're getting ever so closer to Christmas, which is kind of crazy, at least in my world. We've been in the middle of a renovation, so probably, in hindsight, not the best time to start a renovation, but nevertheless, we are in it. So that's what hubby and I are in the middle of doing. So anyways, this is a gift card holder. But like I said, it's not just any gift card holder. It's very special. The reason why is when you go to pull the tab. Oh, what's that? There's a message at the bottom and it pulls at the same time. And yeah, it's an LCBO gift card seal. It's not the only one that I could grab, but it just was at the ready. So anyways, any gift card will fit there and it's super easy. Believe me, it is not as complicated as it looks. That was my first thought. And then when I gave it a shot and I realized this was definitely something that people who follow me would want to see and hopefully do. And then share whatever it is that they make. So we are going to be making this today and I'm going to set this off aside. We are going to go through some of the, pieces of cardstock that we're using today. I'll go through all the measurements. The measurements will show up on screen. They will also be listed down below in the description. So you've got a couple of different ways. You can write along with it or check it down below. Either way, it works for me. So we are going to start off today and I'm using this Kraft Cardstock. So our base piece is going to be 7 3/4 by 3 3/4. We're going to be doing some scoring, obviously, on that piece. I also have another piece. This one is 2 1/4 by 4 1/8. And this one is, again, 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. So those are our 3 pieces. So the base creates this pocket. And then we have 2 pieces, this piece and this piece, which are the two base pieces to that as well. Okay, we are going to be using some designer paper and of course kind of hooked on plaid now. I've moved away from black and now hooked on plaid, so we are using the Holiday Plaid 6x6 paper from Photoplay, which I'm not yet out, so until I am completely out, I will stop using it then. So we have 3 pieces for this designer paper. We have this one, which is 2 1/8 by 4. That will layer on the longer Kraft cardstock. We also have a piece, try to figure out which one's which. There we go. We have a piece that is 2 1/8 by 3 3/8, and that will layer up nicely on the smaller piece. And then finally, for our front cover, we have a piece that is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. So those are our designer pieces. I've also gone ahead, I've cut and stamped 2 little pieces. And this one will obviously be for our front because I basically duplicated it. So that will layer on top of this piece. Lovely. And then if you noticed, as I pull, there's a little sentiment at the bottom. You could make this bigger if you wanted to write a little message. You have more than enough space at the bottom. And that's where this one is going to go. The Jingle All the Way with all the gifts and things, that's going to go right there. So again, up to you. You have some flexibility as far as how big this piece is. So you could make it as big as you wanted to, but just understand that it doesn't come out all the way. So maximum size, I guess it helps if my ruler is the right way. Maximum size, I would say probably 2 3/4. 2 3/4 would give you a nice little border. That's where this the white ends here. So 2 3/4 will give you a nice border there. And then I probably would do 2 by 2 3/4 would give you a nice amount of space again for your sentiment if you so wish. Alrighty. We also will need some ribbon for the little pull at the top. We will need some glue dots, or glue spots, whichever brand, doesn't really matter. These ones are a little bit on the larger side, but again, doesn't really matter. We will need some kind of cutting utensil. I will be using an X-Acto knife, something to mark with. You can use scissors too, bone folder, something to punch. So I've got a hole punch. You will also need a plastic bag, and you will need at least 8 inches in length, and you do not want to use the seams if at all possible, because I feel like the seams would interrupt the mechanism that pulls. So you might want to get a bag. I'm just using shameless plug. I'm using one of the bags that we would sell or send if you buy a collection kit. So that is the 12 by 12 kits that we have. If you buy one of those, then we usually send you one of these lovely bags, but I've already started cutting it. So anyways, the bag is kind of like a project saver, so that if you start a project, or even once you open the bag, because I know those cellophane bags are almost impossible to get your stuff back in, and they tear really easily. So anyways, it's just kind of one of those things that I really appreciate when I'm crafting, so I've included it in your goodies. So just mentioning that. And so I'm going to start pushing all of this stuff aside so that we can get out our scoreboards or scoring utensils and begin the project. Okay. So first things first, you're going to get out your scoreboard, and with the 7 3/4 across the top, we are going to be scoring this at 3 1/8, or 3/8, I should say. 3/8. And that is the lovely mark between 1 1/2 and the 1 1/4. My goodness, my words today. It's the piece between 1/4 and 1/2, which I just realized I made it boo-boos. I scored it at the wrong spot. Okay, the next one is 2 7/8. So 2 7/8. And the last one is 5 3/8. So that's 5. And then again, between the 5 1/4 and 5 1/2 is where 5 3/8 is. Perfect. Okay. So our next thing with this lovely piece of paper, cardstock, what have you, whatever you want to call it, is we're going to go ahead and burnish all of our score lines. Okay, I just want to make sure that everything is lined up, which it is beautifully. Okay. And then the last one. Okay, so the last one, oops, that's not quite, there we go. Okay, so this is what we have. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the third score line, so we're going to fold that piece in. Okay, so our third panel, we're going to fold that in, and then what we're going to do is we are going to measure. We're going to measure 1 1/4. I apologize, my sinuses are a little, probably from all the dust. No matter how much you try to keep the dust down, it is not working. All right. We are going to measure 1 1/4. So I've got my ruler at 1 1/4. We're going to measure that inwards from the fold line. Okay, and we're going to do that at the bottom, and we're going to do that at the top. Okay, now what I'm going to do is my ruler, and I think I've showed this to you before, has like a center spot. So I'm putting my ruler on that center spot. So it's reading 0, but basically you want to, again, make a little mark so that I've got 1 inch, and that will be basically 1 inch in the middle of this panel. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And we're going to do, okay, because we're going to be cutting out a little notch here. And then the last thing I want to do is just measure 1/8 of an inch. Doesn't need to be super, it's not a huge like piece that we're cutting out, but just enough. And this is where our Ziploc bag is going to be running. This is why we've done this. Okay, I'm just measuring that. And nobody's going to see these marks anyways. So, but if you do have a pencil, obviously, you could always erase them afterwards. Okay. So now I'm just going to grab a little piece of cardboard that I have kind of handy. And what I'm going to do is I am just notching this out with my X-Acto blade. You could also use your scissors. I just find that cutting this piece across here just a little bit easier with my X-Acto blade. Okay, so we're just going to run that along. Probably going to have to do a couple of passes before it. Oh. There we go. So you have a nice little area for our Ziploc bag to travel. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, just a little boop. And across. Now, I'm not putting any pressure against, like I don't want to cut into my ruler. I've done that before because those X-Acto blades can be very sharp. So you just want to be mindful when you're doing that. It's a guide. Basically, that's all that is. It's a guide. So, okay. So now this piece is all set and all ready to go. I remove my cardboard. I'm going to take out my paper trimmer. Now, I did, in my infinite wisdom, try to cut this with my rotary paper trimmer, and it did not work. So word to the wise, don't do it. If you got one with the blade, use that. Use your scissors. You're basically, all I'm doing is I'm lining this up at 7/8 of an inch, which is why our little notch was at 1 inch. And I'm just going to lay that down and we're going to cut this. My bag is a little bit longer than my paper trimmer, which is fine. I'm just going to use my scissors and trim that last bit off. Bag to the side, as well as the paper trimmer. Okay, so now you're left with basically this loop, and what you're going to do next is take off, you're just trimming off these seams at either end. The seams, really, as far as I know, I haven't tried it, nor do I really wish to. The seams do impact the movement of the mechanism, so you do want to get rid of the seams. And I had already cut into that, so even at the very bottom of the bag, you want to obviously cut that off as well. Okay, so now we have a nice little strip of plastic bag, for lack of a better word. And we're going to get out our score tape. So for the score tape, we are just going to cut a little bit has to be less in terms of length. Okay. I already, before I even started saying that, I already knew it wasn't going to make any sense. You really don't want it extending past the width of your bag. And the reason for that is it will get stuck and hung up on the cardstock if it's any wider. Okay, so I've got my piece here right at the top. I'm just going to peel that off. And I think I've done what I told you not to do. There's just one little piece. There we go. Folded it over. Okay, so with all of your score marks kind of folded upwards, right? We are going to lay the piece that has the tape. The tape is face up as well. We're going to wrap this around. Okay, so we have this around the back and we're going to come back over. We want it snug, but you don't want it super tight because you do want it to move, you know, relatively free. So, and then we're just going to glue that down. Okay, and then we trim off. My bag is long or wide, I should say, so I end up with longer pieces than what I need. Okay, so we have the tape at the top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our score tape again. We're going to cut another piece. Okay, like that. And we're going to lay that right on top. Okay, we're not taking off the adhesive covering. Okay, so we now have a second piece at the top. And you're just going to flip this over and we're going to do the same thing. So you're going to have another little piece of score tape at the top here. Okay, so if I flip this over, so you basically have score piece up at the top and then you'll have a score piece at the bottom because of the way I flipped it. All right, so we have score piece, score piece. All right, so we're going to set that aside for just a second and we're going to start working on our layers. Okay, so for the layer that I did for the gift card, like basically this is a layer where your gift card is going to go. I took my Crop-A-Dile just to make the corners fancy. And I used the stub end. And it just does that. There, if you wanted to do a rounded corner, you could use your envelope punch board if you happen to have one. I know there's another type. There's a scallop on this side and a stub on this side. I just happen to really kind of like that look. So I'm going to do that to both pieces. So I'm doing it to the Kraft Cardstock, which is our base, and I'm doing it to the designer paper as well. And because the designer paper is just a little bit smaller, it fits right in there nicely as a nice layer. So we're going to go ahead, going to grab my glue. Now my nose is really running. I apologize. It just is. Oh, I've got something trailing in the glue. Yuck. Give me a second. I don't know if it's glue or if there's something that got stuck there. There we go. Sometimes we get the little dried glue bits and it's like, bleh. Alrighty. So now we're going to layer that. Oops. Okay. I dropped it and I didn't mean to. Now that is all kinds of wacky. Oh, my word. Layering. This is why liquid glue is my friend. Liquid glue is my friend. There we go. Okay. That is perfect. I'm also going to do this one while I'm at it. And I decided not to do this for like the fancy corners. By all means, if you want to, you are free to do so. It is your project, and if that is how you roll, then go ahead. Just realized I had something under my nail. Okay. All right, so now we have our 2 pieces. So this, really simple, we're just gonna put a hole at the top. Okay, so that we can put our ribbon. Remember, don't go too far because, you know, it's not going to be able to go past here. So you have about 1/4 of an inch, give or take, a little bit more than that probably. So I'm just going to stick, I kind of use these as my guide. And if I can figure out where that's going to, there we go. And then you try to center it as much as possible. So I like that. Feel like that's a pretty good area. Now I'm going to cut some ribbon. I don't need a lot, but you know, I'm not tying a bow necessarily, but still feel like I require more ribbon than what is needed. I'll probably be trimming a whole lot off. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to feed those 2 pieces through the loop. Oh, my word. Come on. You can do it. In. I feel like my hands are not cooperating. They're very sore right now. All the grabbing and hauling and manual labor. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let me just give that a little bit of a tug and get that all snug. I'm just gonna boop, cut the ends so they're nice and fancy, and that is pretty much done. Okay, so for this one, got that layered up. The next thing that I want to do is put my little sentiment at the bottom, and I'm just going to glue that down really quickly. Okay. All right. Okay, perfect. And then, well, we might as well, since we've got our glue out and we're layering, we might as well do the front part too. And so, front part, I've allowed for a little bit more of the plaid to kind of show through. One thing that I should note is on this piece, if you don't want to use all that plaid or all that designer paper, you don't have to, because it is going to be covered mostly with a gift card. So it's entirely up to you. If you wanted to use like a little strip at the top just to make it extra fancy at the top, then by all means, go ahead and do it. Especially if you've got leftover scraps, that's perfect for that. But if you don't, and, you know, it could potentially be reused, I suppose, if the person that you're giving it to has glue dots, or if you just tell them to go out and get some glue dots, then they could easily reuse that, especially if it doesn't have any to, from, that kind of thing. So it's completely up to you. Okay, so now that we've got our 3 layers, I'm going to set this piece aside because that is really for the front. I'm going to grab this piece. Now, it's very important the way that we do this, and I just need you to trust me. So we're going to peel off. So this is the kind of the inside, right? So we've got our 2 folds and they're all kind of curling up. So this is where our seam was at the beginning. If I could only, again, my fingers are not working. Okay. We're going to take the panel with the sentiment. We are flipping it over. We are going to be lining that up with the bottom and at the same time line it up with the sides. Okay? Once you have that all lined up, you're going to lay it down and press down. Okay? Because this is going to be held at the top. Next, we fold. That should fold nicely. And then we're going to peel this bottom one. Okay? That is where this one is going to lay down. So at the present time, if you had your gift card, you could lay it on right now. I did it after the fact just so that I had a better idea of where the positioning was. It's up to you. And again, we're doing the exact same thing. You're going to layer, sorry. You're using the bottom as the guide and you really want to line it up with the bottom. And we're also lining it up with side to side. So it should fit really nicely in this little pocket that we've made. Okay. All right. And then we press down at the bottom. Okay. Now here's not the tricky part, but it's just something to be mindful of. Okay. We're going to apply some score tape to this bottom little lip that we've created. Okay. There. We're going to peel that. Okay. Now, as we're folding, there is a space between this panel with the gift card and the bottom and the base. There's a little bit of a space there. So what we're going to do is we're folding this. We're going past, so we're basically wrapping that gift card, right, with this base cardstock, and we're sealing that to the bottom. So hopefully that has made complete sense. Okay, so there we have our gift card, not quite finished. The last thing we need to do is take our front layers, get some glue on there, and then put this on the front. And we are done. See? Boop. So I guess if I pulled it out like this, and this is how I did this one. Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. I gotta get the gift card off. And the glue dots are not being very understanding of the fact that I want it off. Okay. So I'm going to, sorry, the glue dots are now stuck to the gift card. And I don't really want it sticking to this one because I would like to keep this one clean. I'm not ready to use it yet. Okay, there we go. So glue dots off. I would definitely use smaller ones. These ones are pretty big. So the smaller ones do come free a little bit easier. So with this, what I did is you're going to have to tuck it in a little bit. But again, I'm using this fancy corner as my guide. So if you're not sure of where the end, where the top is, because you don't want your gift card kind of poking out the top, then just, make a mental note, or you can even make like a little bit of a pencil mark on here. And that way, when you pull it out, you have a guide as to where to set it. So I would set it down far enough so that it doesn't really show when I'm pushing it all the way in. Bear with me just 1 second. It is snug, so don't worry. But yeah, so this way the top of your gift card is not showing. So there we have it. We have our super fancy pop-up, pull down. No, it's a, I'm not really sure what the name of the card is. Gift card holder is what I had. So, but it's a super fancy gift card holder. So hopefully you've enjoyed my video today. If you do, I think you know what to do. But in case you don't, just give me a big old thumbs up. And also, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the bell so you're reminded whenever there's a new video that comes out. And I'm doing my absolute best to make sure that during this crazy renovation that I'm still posting videos and hopefully helping you with new ideas, fun ideas for Christmas. So don't forget to do all of those things, okay? So you're going to give me a big old thumbs up. You are going to hit subscribe. You're going to hit the bell. And you're going to make this project. And you're going to go to find me on Facebook. And you're going to post a picture of your project. And I'm going to love it. I promise that. So if you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And I will get back to you just as quickly as I possibly can. If you're interested in the paper that I've used today, namely the Holiday Plaid 6x6, you can visit our store at fabulouspaper.com. Our link is down below. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed my time here, and I look forward to seeing you again. Hopefully you'll have a great day. Stay safe, stay well. Bye.